Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today, a pretty firm title, but it really is about time that we stopped seeing that feeling stressed is normal. Or in fact, I said it's about time we saw that feeling stressed isn't normal. Whichever way around you say it, it's the same thing, isn't it? I speak to a lot of people, business owners, employees, all sorts of different people, and I hang around a lot, particularly on LinkedIn as a platform. And the message out there seems to be, well, it's a crazy old world, and a lot of the proverbial hits the fan, and therefore it's kind of normal to be stressed, really. I mean, the statistics are getting to be ludicrous, really. I would say getting to the point where there's a lot more people who are stressed than are not. So the statistics almost the opposite of what you would like them to be, really, where, perhaps not that long ago, stress was a small percentage of people and not what it is now. We're looking at probably 2/3 of people in the moderate to high, moderate and above. So moderate to high, and high levels of stress. We're looking at 2/3 of people who are experiencing that. People are experiencing at least a couple of days a week when they're feeling very stressed. And, goodness knows what the other days feel like, because I don't imagine they're wonderful. But it's partly caused by this message out there that stress is caused by life, as in life out there, as in our circumstances, our bosses, our workload, our family situation, the things that happen to us, our circumstances, other people, that it's all that out there creating stress. And so because now we're kind of saying, the world's an interesting place with a lot of challenges, that therefore, well, being stressed is just normal now because the outside world's crazy. But what I'm pointing to time and time again in these broadcasts is that that's founded in a complete and utter misunderstanding about how we work as human beings. So first of all, let's look at the kind of physiologically what stress is. Your stress response is amazing. Like it's so vital, and it's kept us as a race. It's kept us alive for thousands, millions of years, probably. I'm not really sure how many, but very many years. It's kept us alive. It's the response that we see in all the other mammals, the mammals that still have predators. Of course, we don't have predators anymore as human beings, really, most of us, especially not living on the outskirts of Leeds where I live. I don't perceive that I have any predators in particular. So we don't have that anymore, but when we did have, it served a purpose. So when there were animals out there that could eat me and you, our stress response had a purpose in the same ways, as I said, as it does in on other mammals and other animals, in that when we perceive that we are in danger from something in the outside world that's actually there in front of us, like a saber-toothed tiger, our body reacts to that by pumping adrenaline and cortisol into our system. That causes our muscles to get glucose and all the things that we need in order to run away from this predator, to fight it, or sometimes to freeze. And some mammals do that, don't they? Some mammals freeze as a response and almost play dead. Is it mongooses that do that? Somebody tell me. Somebody let me know. Is it mongooses that do that? I think it is mongooses that do that. But anyway, some animals freeze and play dead and then don't get eaten. And that system is meant to work for a very short window of time, just while we're getting away from danger, really. And once the danger's gone, our system's supposed to settle back down. The thing is that we as human beings, as thinking beings, and that's the most important thing to remember about yourself, is you are a thinker. You're not the thoughts, but you are a thinker. You're a human being, and it is part of your nature to think. That's completely normal. And we think about all sorts of really horrible things. Unfortunately, we misuse this amazing power of thought. And as a result of that, we create suffering for ourselves and often for the people around us as a result of that. So, and that's just how the system works. It's when you start to think about it and you start to think, oh, that this is an internal system. The reason we get ill from stress is because there's too much of those hormones, adrenaline, cortisol and things, and they cause things to happen in our bodies. So, for example, if your body's job is to get out of danger, it's not going to prioritize energy into fighting a virus. So your immune system is suppressed. So if you're in that state for a long period of time, you will start to get poorly. On the emotional front, if those kinds of hormones are running around in your body a lot of the time, it's going to have an impact on your emotional state. So stress as an illness is caused by that hormone running around your body so much of the time. And how we differ from other mammals is that we think. And when we think about horrible things, and you can do this now, I mean, I don't recommend thinking about horrible things, but you can start to, if you just sit there and start to think about how much work you've got to do, how many emails you've got to tackle, etc. You can start to notice your body reacting to that. Your body is reacting to your thinking about those things. It isn't reacting to those things. And one of the things I often talk about is really, how many emails you've got in your inbox. For some people, just having like more than 50 in there would be extremely stressful. They would feel terrible and they would find it really hard. But for other people, I don't know how many there are in my inbox, if I'm honest. Nor do I care. Every so often I, try to do it on a regular basis. I go in and kind of tidy it up and delete stuff that just has been dealt with or has happened, like links to meetings in inboxes at the moment, isn't there? But then reply to things that need to be replied to and deal with them like that. But for some people, it feels like a stressor how many emails you've got to deal with. But really, when you think about it, all you have to deal with is one email, one word, one letter that you're typing or reading at a time. It's the thinking about all you've got to do that creates the horrible feeling. And then there's all sorts of other types of thinking. There's the stories we wrap about things. There's the things that we are how we think about ourselves that can make us feel quite stressed, because we can be in a situation, or we can imagine a situation often about the future. That's very stressful, isn't it, when we make up an imagined scary future? And then we can make up a really quite pathetic version of ourselves in that future, and that can create stress. A lot of stress is created by future thinking. Actually, if you are just present with what is right now, well, then there can only be a little bit of stuff happening in the now, can't there? That's really happening now. It's like that thing where your boss says to you in the morning, "Oh, can you stop behind for a few minutes after work? I need to speak to you, or I need to speak to you at lunchtime." And you spend the rest of that period of time until the meeting thinking about the horrible things that could happen, and then you feel terrible. Now, what I'm pointing to in this session today is that doesn't have to be a way of life. I can honestly say I don't really get stressed. I've got a little bit of thinking right now because I hope you can't hear that somebody's car or house alarm is going off in the background. I'm hoping you can't hear that. My mic is quite good at cutting it out. But I'm starting to notice myself getting a little bit like, a little bit wound up by it. But I know that that's my thinking about the alarm, and it's not the alarm itself that's doing that. But we're getting into a phase now where we're seeing it as normal. That it's normal to feel terrible. It's normal to be stressed. It's just part of life, and it isn't part of life. It doesn't have to be that way. Now, I share all sorts of content. I'll be speaking about this again, I think, tomorrow, about the symptoms and the signs of stress, that your body is physiologically and emotionally not coping with the level of hormones that are pumping through due to your thinking being awry. And I don't want you to miss that. Please do look those things up if you can. Because it has become so part of life now that I think people are becoming immune to even noticing the symptoms and noticing that they're not well. So please do become aware of what the signs and symptoms of stress might be. And then please stop seeing it as normal. It is not normal to be stressed. You don't have to be stressed. It is not a necessary part of life. And if you're noticing that you are feeling stressed, then please do reach out to me. Please do reach out to someone. Don't sit around and wait until you're burnt out like I did. It's not necessary to live life like that. It just isn't. And it's a sad state of affairs that we've got to the point where we think it is necessary and just part of life. So please do reach out, do join my 5 simple truths to take you closer to calm. That can be the first step that you take to move away from, this feeling of stress and the emotional and physiological, responses that creates in your body. It doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the inside. And once you start to see that, you can have a much better experience of life, trust me. So sending lots of love today. Take care. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.